Day 560 day of Russian aggression Strait of Ukraine, the situation at the front. Today, numerous updates have come in from the Tokmak region. First and foremost, we have received more detailed information regarding the failed Russian counteroffensive towards Robotyne. As outlined in our previous report, the Russians attempted a flanking maneuver to retake the formidable fortifications located to the south of Robotyne. However, upon entering the village, they were met by a Ukrainian flanking maneuver that forced them to retreat. Today, several of Russia's leading analysts have confirmed the withdrawal of Russian troops from the village. Nevertheless, their justification is that the Russian forces departed not due to the Ukrainian counteroffensive, but because they had accomplished their goal of disrupting supply lines. Therefore, they felt there was no need to remain in a village under consistent enemy fire. This reasoning appears flawed. Supply routes are not akin to cables that one can merely cut and abandon. For it to be effective, one needs to maintain a position and exert fire control to hinder movement along the route. As a result, Ukrainian forces to the south of Robotyne were briefly encircled, but with the Russian withdrawal, their lines of communication were swiftly re-established. This is why there was a renewed series of assaults by the Ukrainians towards Novoprokopivka. The groundwork for this move by Ukraine was apparent 4 days prior, when reports from Russian sources indicated the relocation of mechanized units deeper into their bridgehead. Historically, during these storming operations, Ukrainian tanks provided fire support from a few kilometers back from the Robotyne front line. Observing these tanks west of Robotyne signifies an escalation in the Ukrainian offensive. Recently unveiled battlefield footage captures a Ukrainian trooper navigating a newly seized position. Notably, the initial trenches the Ukrainians encountered were virtually deserted, devoid of any ammunition remnants or casualties. In contrast, deeper into the trench system where the Russians had set up their defenses, there was a significant cache of arms and ammunition supplies. This suggests that the Ukrainians launched a swift and unexpected assault. The Russians, having inadequately defended the trench's forefront, realized their oversight and hastily retreated. This observation was further substantiated by the soldiers' commentary, noting an abundance of discarded Russian uniforms compared to ammunition, affirming the rapid and unchallenged Russian withdrawal. Given the topographical challenges in this particular region, where Ukrainians are primarily operating in the lowlands and in proximity to the front line, they frequently encounter extensive minefields. As mentioned earlier, the Ukrainians have adapted by utilizing drones equipped with thermal cameras to identify these hazards. This prompted the Russians to innovate their tactics. One Ukrainian combatant noted a new stratagem employed by the Russians. They've taken to embedding explosives directly into the rudimentary roads of the region. Since these roads in the area are largely unpaved, they are susceptible to being mined. When Russians anticipate an imminent withdrawal, they plant significant quantities of napalm, up to half a ton, which can be remotely detonated. They then survey the area using drones, and when Ukrainian forces are detected moving along these roads, the explosives are activated. Pinpointing these devices in expansive fields is notably challenging, so the Russians tend to place them at recognizable landmarks like intersections, lone trees, or open spaces. To counter this threat, Ukrainian engineering units are actively scouting these potentially hazardous zones, aiming to identify and neutralize these threats proactively. In the aftermath of successfully thwarting the Russian counteroffensive in Robotyne, Ukrainian forces have redirected their efforts towards Novoprokopivka and are poised to launch an assault shortly. Observers have noted that the Russians are bolstering their defenses in the area with their premier tank units, specifically the T-90s. Ukrainian drone operators are actively targeting these tanks and any other reinforcements headed to the region. The renowned Media's Birds Assault Drone Battalion from Ukraine made a notable attempt to down Russian helicopters using a kamikaze drone tactic. Although the drone didn't hit its intended target on this occasion, Russian defense experts have quickly recognized that Ukrainian drones are emerging as a significant threat, not just to their ground armored units, but also to their aerial assets. We anticipate witnessing another attempt soon, and perhaps this time, it will lead to the neutralization of Russian attack helicopters.